Are they?
The average sighting report consists of an animal between 7 and 8 feet tall.
And then, so how big are their feet, actually?
The extremes, though, go as high as about 14 feet.
Oh, wow.
And as short as 3 or 4 feet.
So
Would
those be
like
just
a baby?
like baby?
Well, yes and no. Actually, there are apparently, you see, these things have been reported ever since the beginning of recorded history.
Yeah, we read that
all
Native
over
American
the planet.
account.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is nothing new. And essentially there are two types of Bigfoots, although that might be too simplistic, but let's suffice it to say that hairy bipedal primates that are reported in forested areas that haven't been classified by science yet generally include really big, tall, husky things, and also little short, 3-foot tall, diminutive, hairy bipeds. What they have in common is they walk on 2 legs most of the time, and they're covered in hair and apparently have no tools, like on the level that we have.
Right. So yeah, we've been doing research, and we saw there's been a recent sighting of I think a smaller one that was walking on all fours. I think in Tennessee or something. Do you know anything about that?
You're probably talking about a game camera photograph taken in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
That people are arguing about as to whether it's a young Bigfoot or a very sick bear. There's been a lot of flack and debate about that.
What do you believe?
Well, anytime you get to the point where it's hard to tell and you've got 50-50 when it comes to experts commenting, and I've seen lots of photos thrown up of sick bears that look very much like this thing. When I first looked at it, it did strike me as looking primate-like. My first glance at it looked like a chimp.
Yeah.
But I would have to go with bear, because when you hear hoof prints, the sound of hooves, and you don't know what it is, you should probably think horse before you think zebra, if you live in this part of the world.
Yeah.
That's a typical example of using common sense. So, given that there's equal numbers of people who feel that it's a bear and that think it's a baby Bigfoot, I'd have to go with bear, given those choices.
So, what have been some local sightings that you've heard about?
We have quite a few local reports, over 4 dozen. We actually have discovered that the Bigfoot sightings in this area date back to 1870.
Wow.
And clear up to just days ago. We hear reports every week. Not necessarily from this area, but I was just on the phone with a man in Ben Lomond who saw one fairly clearly back in February of this year, and his neighbor thinks that it's been eating his chickens. As recently as about 2 weeks ago, a chicken was taken. And the method that was used to take the chicken, the way that it was eaten or partially eaten, matches up identically with another event that took place over near Quail Hollow in 2004 by another family who had a chicken taken. It was partly consumed. And the whole method of operation and the whole look of the chicken was very similar.
So how did you become so passionate about
I saw
searching?
one.
You saw one?
When I was a child.
Wow. Where?
So I've spent my whole life trying to figure this thing out. You see the books that I've collected. I tried to study it seriously when I was in college, and they wouldn't let me. And so at this point in my life, I decided, well, it's time for me to spend my whole time on it, because we've had 50 years to prove it. Nobody's done that yet, so I'm going to take my shot at it. I'd like to have it solved before I die.
So what did it look like when you saw it?
It looked a lot like the one in the Patterson film.
Okay.
Very large, covered in dark reddish-brown hair. Now, the one I saw had a shirt that was kind of clinging to its shoulder, like it tried to put on a shirt that wouldn't fit it, and got it about as far as one side of the shoulder.
Wow.
Just kind of hanging there. I was a little kid at the time, so I couldn't tell you a lot of details about it, other than I looked right at it, and it looked right at me, and we had eye contact for several seconds before my parents started screaming because they realized I'd wandered off. And so I ran back to the camp where they were. It was real early in the morning. They were camped next to the river up in Northern California. And I told them that I'd just seen a big hairy man, and they followed me, and we went back to the spot, but it was gone. And so they said, oh, don't worry, it was probably a tramp, meaning a homeless person.
So they're fairly secretive creatures. They kind of keep to themselves.
Fairly secretive, one would say. We're still